In this video, we're going to talk about what to eat on the keto diet and when to eat it and how much. Stay tuned. Welcome to the channel. I'm Marty, the Keto Coach. I'm so glad you stopped by. Hope you enjoy the video. If you want to change some things, you have to change some things. Today, we're going to talk about what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat. So when should you eat? You should listen to your body's signals and eat when you're hungry. Not snacky so much, not carb craving, but when you're hungry, you should eat. And how much should you eat? When you are hungry, you should sit down and eat until you're really satisfied or comfortably full. This is not a calorie diet. It's not counting calories and watching portions. This diet is about upping your fat, lowering your carbs, and eating until you're full. Now what happens is, as you become keto adapted or fat adapted and you're using fat for fuel, you'll find that your body doesn't scream for food near as often. You don't have insulin crashes, so you don't get that cravey, snacky kind of hunger, or I don't even know if you could call that hunger, but you don't get that when you're eating a ketogenic lifestyle. And what will happen eventually is you'll start realizing that you're not hungry for breakfast. And you'll start being what we call 2 meals a day, or TMAD, or intermittent fasting even, because you fit all your food into a shorter window and you are eating once or twice a day, and that's plenty because you just don't get so hungry, because we're carrying around the fuel that we need so our body doesn't just get hangry wanting us to provide fuel, because there's plenty in reserve. And that's the whole point of the ketogenic diet. So you'll eat less often. And if you want to, it's not necessary, but you can shorten that window down to intermittent fasts, maybe 8 hours a day you eat when you get to 2 meals a day. Some people eat 1 meal a day, which is 24 hours apart. And then to really accelerate your metabolic shift over to a fat-fueled energy system, then what you can do is skip a day of eating. Just have a day of fast. And that is not only good for you, it will expedite your shift to ketosis. For information on that, I would say to go to the source. And everyone in this space knows that the source is Dr. Jason Fung. If you look him up on YouTube, you'll find a lot of great videos from him that will tell you about intermittent fasting, especially if you're in a type 2 diabetes, insulin resistant situation. Check out Dr. Fung's videos. He's considered the man on that stuff, so check him out. So now the part we're here for is the what. So I would say the overarching principle of what to eat is single ingredient, real food as much as possible. If you eat a steak, there's one ingredient. But the what to eat, you notice I've got my whiteboard here today. Basically what you want to do is remember, this is not a calorie diet, it's not a portion size diet. It's a what's eliminated and what's kept diet. So what do we keep? We keep fats. And fats are going to be butter, lard, olives and olive oil, avocados and avocado oil, coconut oil, bacon drippings, my favorite. If you're not saving your bacon, we call it in the South, we call it bacon grease. If you're not saving your bacon grease to cook your Brussels in and your asparagus in, and saute your onions in before you throw your steak or whatever in, you're missing out. Duck fat and tallow, all those good fats that everybody else says is bad fats. That's the ones you want to eat. You want to stay away from the seed oils, the vegetable oils. All of those have a bad ratio of omega-6. I saw something today that they are very contributory to a lot of the bad outcomes. The artificial oils. Those oils, if they weren't bleached and fumigated and clarified, would be more properly suited for greasing machinery. But they've tried to make it palatable, and it's not the best stuff in the world to be taking in. So your fats, stick to the good natural fats that aren't man-made, and those would be a good choice. And that includes, like I said, eating olives themselves and eating avocados themselves. Those are good fats. Then you got your proteins, which I call protein and fat, because most of the protein I eat has a lot of the fat I want attached. So that's your beef. Stick to ribeyes, 80-20, 85-15 ground beef. You know, New York strips are okay. I'm going to do some research later on myself to see what happens if I eat just lean meats instead of fatty meats. But I've lost all my weight eating ribeyes. That is my food, is ribeyes. Pork, that includes your bacon, your ham, ground pork, all those things. Lamb chops. Poultry, all your seafoods, shellfish, fish, mussels, shrimp, octopus, calamari, oysters on the half shell, and I have to say they're pretty awesome once you actually try them. Organ meats, you want to have organ meats if you like them. If you don't, you might try them because they are the most dense food nutritionally that you can find. Liver is number one on every level. So eat your organs if you want to. I love liver and heart. I didn't before I started keto, but I have learned to love them because I tried them. I just tried to be a grown-up, tried them, and I love them. Here's one of my exceptions, processed meats. I eat a lot of hard salami, pepperoni, all your lunch meats, hot dogs, all those things are totally okay to have on this diet. You always want to do the best you can, but if all you can afford is bologna and hot dogs, put some mustard and cheese on it, that's going to help you get healthier. And that's the target here. Get smaller, look better, feel better. That's the target. It's not about grass-fed all the time. I mean, that's great if you can do it. It's better if you can do it. But processed meats are perfectly okay. Okay, your green veggies. That's going to be grown above the ground, green, leafy, and crunchy vegetables that are the ones you know, the ones that adults eat. That's going to be your broccoli, asparagus, cauliflower, which isn't green, but it's crunchy. Brussels sprouts. Dr. Berry said it's Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts, man, Brussels sprouts, stir-fried in some bacon grease, a little salt. It's hard to beat. Kale, which makes a great snack instead of popcorn. You air fry some kale, spray it with olive oil, put some salt on it, put it in the air fryer, or make 4 cookie sheets worth and stick it in the oven, because when you get done with it, it weighs nothing. It is nothing. All your lettuces, your salads are going to be good on this diet because you can have all the lettuces and greens that you want. Turnip greens, spinach, mustard greens, those are all good. You can make your own sauerkraut with cabbage. Celery, of course. If you ate nothing but celery for a few weeks, you'd disappear because it takes more energy to chew it and digest it than it has in it. So celery is always a winner. Pickles are always a go. Cucumbers, stuff like that. Then you have your non-starchy other vegetables, and that's going to be your peppers, which makes my world complete, whether it's bell peppers, jalapeno peppers, serrano peppers, Anaheim peppers. Do a lot with bell peppers. Mushrooms, garlic, and onion is the grown in the ground exception because we use it as kind of a condiment almost. So they're not terrible for you. You wouldn't want to eat piles and piles of them because they are kind of carby when you get too much. But those are grown in the ground are good. Your squashes, which come in real handy. You can take squash to replace your rice and beans at most Mexican restaurants, which is very helpful when you order the fajitas. I do that a lot. Tomatoes, zucchini, eggplant, those things that are grown above the ground that aren't green and crunchy. Those are good choices there. And then you have dairy, nuts, and seeds. So when it comes to dairy, you want to have full fat options. So don't get a 0 fat yogurt. Get the 5% full milk fat yogurt. I use the Fahi, the Greek, and I'll tell you about dessert in a minute. Full fat cheeses, eggs, heavy cream, obviously butter, which is in the fats, but still kind of lands in dairy too, and eggs, which I consider a protein, but are considered dairy. Eggs, by the way, rate the highest in percentage of that food that not only is used and digested and not waste, but percentage of food that becomes part of your body. Egg rates number 1 in that category. An egg is an amazing thing. So focus on eggs. And then on your nuts and seeds, you got macadamia nuts, pecans, walnuts, almonds, Brazil nuts. Just track your carbs if you're going to eat cashews and peanuts and some of those. But the macadamias, the pecans, the walnuts, the almonds, they're higher in fat, lower in carbs. Brazil nuts are real high in fat. Those are good. And then your seeds, like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, and flax seeds, and chia seeds, those are all good for you. So those would be your dairy, nuts, and seeds. And then fruit is very limited because fruit is so sweet. So on your berries, you can have blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries. That's about it. Strawberries, when they get good and ripe, sweeten up a little bit and produce more sugar. So on all the berries, you want to use them as tossed in a salad, or for making my favorite dessert that kept me alive. I'll tell you in just a second. And then lemons and limes, if you want to squeeze a lemon in your tea or squeeze a lime in your guacamole, which I highly recommend. I think that's what keeps it from turning brown. Yeah, lemon and lime juice is fine. They're not that sweet, as you can tell. So that would be my food list. And then the no list, I broke it into very few pieces. So it's grains. So that includes corn, all the wheats, all those grains, and those things are going to be what your breads are made out of, and your pancakes and your donuts and all that obvious stuff that's very, very inflammatory and not good for us. Your starchy vegetables like potatoes, the corn would classify as a starchy grain. On the fruits, the rest of the fruits, the bananas and stuff, those are high in sugar, not good for you and not necessary in a diet of any kind, but especially not allowed in this diet, and especially not fruit juices. If you ate an orange, you would have at least the slow digestion of it because of the fiber that wouldn't cause your insulin to increase so fast and so high. But once you pulverize it and drain the juice out, what you have is basically a cola or something of that nature. It's just a sugared water drink that is going straight through your stomach, into the portal vein, into your liver to cause a 5-alarm emergency in your body where your pancreas and liver have to deal with that sugar like you drank 3 sodas. So avoid the juices of fruits. Lastly, of course, is sugars, honey, regular table sugar, the agave nectars, syrups, maple syrup, pancake syrup, those things. Those are obviously off limits, and that's going to wipe out all your pastries. Between grains and sugars, that's all your pastries, cakes, candies, all those things are out of the way. And beer is too high carb to be drinking very much at all. You know, if you want to have a beer from time to time, just know it's going to slow down your metabolism because your liver's got to work on that beer until it's dealt with and isn't worried about anything else. So watch that. And so with that, I would bring you to a couple more things that I want to talk about. So let's talk about drinks. So when it comes to drinks, obviously you want to drink a lot of water, but there is no water requirement. This is kind of coming out lately that all this forcing water is not necessary. If you're thirsty, drink, just like when you're hungry, eat. If you're not thirsty, don't drink. Teas, sodas, coffee, all those things with no calorie sweetness. If you don't want a sweetener, don't sweeten it. If you want it sweetened, use a 0-calorie sweetener because that's going to be a 0-carb sweetener. There's debate about all that. I love the blue stuff. I use the blue stuff, and I drink tons and tons of Diet Cokes. I only drank Diet Coke for about 35 years, and I mean never drank a glass of water. I didn't turn into a raisin, and I never had a headache. Different people react different ways to that sweetener, but if you can use it and you like it, in my plan, that's a great thing to do to get you where you're going for now. If you're going to drink alcohol, drink straight liquors as much as possible, not liqueurs, but your whiskey, your bourbon, your vodkas, all those. And that pretty much does drinks. I'm going to get one. I bought this really cool bottle that I carry to the gym. It's changed my water drinking. I drink a lot more water now. It's an Iron Flask, and you can get the link in the show notes if you want one. It helps me out a little bit, just so you know I'm an affiliate marketer for that. Fat bombs and keto desserts. Those are very important in the early stages to not trip up on sweets. So I'm very pro fat bomb. I have my own yogurt mix I do that I'm going to tell you about in just a second that I think is a really good thing to eat to keep from eating something bad. So a fat bomb is made out of either, a coconut oil base or sometimes butter or cream cheese. And these things you'll put a non-nutritive sweetener in and maybe some chocolate nibs or raspberries or dehydrated raspberries or blueberries or blackberries. Those things will help you have a really nice treat that's not going to sabotage your diet. Fat bombs are really high in fat, very satiating. They will take your craving away and meet that desire for something sweet and something desserty. So I'm very pro fat bomb. Over time, you will reduce how much you want them, but they're good to get you to that time. My yogurt recipe is real simple. I use the really thick, high-fat Greek yogurt. I like Fahi, 5%. I may have said that. And I use that for every big dollop. It's a packet of Equal or some erythritol or however you want to do it. 3 or 4 dollops of that. I put desiccated coconut in it. That's the coconut that doesn't have any sugar added or anything. It's just dried coconut flakes. They're usually bigger. Walnuts or almonds or pecans. And then I put a berry in it. Blackberry, blueberry, raspberry. I put strawberries and cottage cheese, and that's a good thing. It tastes really good. Sprinkle a little sweetener of your choice on it. These things are necessary to get us through the beginning stages of this transition. Keto junk, I would say in the early stages is okay. If you want a bar, you may or may not want those later, but definitely don't avoid them. If you feel like you're going to eat a Snickers, you should probably look for a keto bar to keep handy or something like that if you need something in between meals. And all this stuff changes with time, but in the beginning, you want to be sure you're kind of staying on top of it. So you want to have that as an available thing. The keto snacks and stuff, you got to watch them because sometimes they'll net carb you where they put a whole bunch of junk in there and then add fiber and take it out. And it's not really that good for you. Some of them are pretty clean and you can use them. So watch your ingredients. So use those if those help you. If you want a smoothie, if you're a smoothie-holic and you want a smoothie, get creative. Use some full-fat yogurt. Use some heavy cream. Use some berries. Keep it a little bit light. And, you can add avocado to get more fat in it. It doesn't have much taste. Matter of fact, it tastes a lot like a banana. If you don't believe me, try them side by side. And speaking of that, if you think you need potassium or electrolytes, hit your Gatorade Zeros or your Propels or your Powerades that have 0 carbs and put a little salt in those and you'll have a good electrolyte drink that you can drink. And there's other ones too. Dr. Berry has a recipe for one that's pretty good. And so, this is not exhaustive by any stretch of the imagination. This will get you started. And last, I would say this. Go online and print you out a keto food list. Go online and get you an app to track your carbs. And you'll get to where yes, no. It's not even like I don't track anything. I just know there's a bunch of foods I don't eat and a bunch of foods I do eat. And it works because using the carb trackers really just help you develop an understanding and a knowledge of what's what. It's not like I have to track and count carbs anymore. So with that, I would ask you to like this video if you liked the content, comment if you love it and you want some more of it, hit the subscribe button, and those 3 things help me a lot in getting my channel promoted on the broader platform of YouTube. And with that, I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.